Okay, hello everybody. Did this make it better? And today we're doing another part about with Deku had the red thread of fate. Let's start. Let's start up. First of all, let me explain the reason why I had Kirishima and Mina go out. They're the one of the few that were that knew each other after the UA stuff or before. Don't know those two, but there were. I can only think of those two being the closest out of everybody else. They need more time. All the other ones will be needing more time for them to get to know each other. But for Kirishima and Amina, even though they're in the same, I even had them were like forced, technically, into the same friend group. So Zuko was like working his magic touch to make sure that they are close to each other at all times. And so that's why Zuko did what he did, because he technically Zuko was already planning on getting them together around over. Okay, let's start the video then. So last time I left off is Zuko pretty much walking away from the entrance, and Kirishima and Mina is actually standing there talking to each other. Um, Kirishima's more nervous because he said it out loud, and Mina is more surprised that he chose her. She heard that Zuko was doing something, but she didn't know what, and now she knows. So Kirishima is like kind of started. No, he's not that kind of person. Well, he's more slower at this. He in Kirishima head, he said, "Oh shit, man, dang it, Deku, why did you make me do that?" And in Mina, she's pretty happy that Kirishima said it first. And Kirishima was going to say something else, but Mina pretty much stopped him and said, "Yes, I would like to go out with you." Because I know in the show she's like really forward with most things. So I'll keep that with her. So they're talking about their a date and all that. I'm not gonna go into it because they're not the main character. They're just gonna go. I say they'll be going to like a cafe, and then a gaming arcade after that, and just talking. So that's what's going to happen. Let's get back into. Okay, let's get back into the story. Zuko pretty much is walking away and going and seeing how Suyu's doing. He walked a little far, but it was far enough, but not too far where Suyu can't climb. And Zuko pretty much is bring out two water bottles and look at where Suyu is, and she's pretty high up. So Zuko pretty much start trying, kind of like bouncing on one and getting ready. One, two, and up, up, and away. And he's getting really high up. And the moment she sees Zuko coming up, she pretty much stopped jumping around and see what he was doing. But but at the moment she stopped, Zuko was already right in front of her, about 3 feet away. Zuko pretty much said, "Oh, there you are. Since you've been working out so long, here's some water." And so she pretty much said thank you and started drinking it. Zuko drink it and start working out with her as well. Just hanging around, he's pretty much swinging like a monkey, and she's jumping from thread to thread with like a frog. And so Kirishima and Mina have already left for their date, and it's been 4 hours. Dang it, not even 4 minutes. Okay, here we go. Sorry. Okay, I have more time. Where was I? Dang it. 4 hours have passed, and Zuko's mom actually walked in the room. she didn't expect anything. Zuko pretty much left a note saying that he's working out outside because he does leave a timer because he's very focused on time, and time is a practice, I guess. So Inko pretty much is walking out of the living room to go into the backyard and see Zuko and a girl out there. So she's kind of smirking and get the time alarm and set it off. And Zuko got a little freaked out because he was focused on talking to Suyu for a bit. But when he got freaked out, he actually turned off his quirk. And at that moment, he said, "Oh, dang it!" and turned back on, grabbed Suyu, hold her tightly, and hang on to one of his threads. And there was that little moment that Zuko just felt a heartbeat, and Suyu felt a heartbeat, but it wasn't their own. It was each other's. So they had that little moment until uh, Suyu breaks the silence, saying, "So, are you gonna let me go, or?" And Midori said, "Oh, all right." And he looks down on the where the threads are, and said, "Okay, I'll let you go for a bit. Do you trust me?" And she said, "Yeah. It's your quirk. You can do pretty much anything you want." I need to figure out how she'd say it. A ribbit. But Izuku looks down and sees his mother, and sees a thread, and he thinks, "Oh, that's perfect." And so he just pretty much let go of the one he was holding one thread with one hand, and the other arm in her arms around her. So he let go of the thread, kind of maneuvering slowly, but surely down to his mom. And so she's kind of smirking and saying, just waiting there, just standing there and waiting. Zuko's just looking at her confused and thought, "Oh, mom." And this is Suyu. I forgot her last name. And this is Suyu. She's one of my classmates. And she, Suyu pretty much bows and saying, "Well, it's nice to meet you, Miss Midoriya." Yeah, Miss Midoriya. And his mother said, "Well, it's nice to meet you." And she kind of turned to Dooku and said out loud, "So is she your girlfriend?" And Zuko's kind of blushing, but he kind of say, "Yeah, pretty much." And he's kind of like nervously looking at her, and she said, "Yep, we're dating." So for the time being, Suyu and Inko is actually talking to each other, as Zuko's just sitting there and watching all this going on. So let's get to the next day. It's the same thing. Suyu comes in at a certain time, start working out with him, and training her quirk, and he's training his quirk for this rest of the week. On around Thursday, everybody are in a group chat. One for the boys, one for the girls, and one for the whole class. In the girls' chat, Mina pretty much is saying that she is now dating someone, and she now has a boyfriend. So you said, "Same." And did he say it, or did Zuko force him to say it? And that's what Suyu said. And Mina said, "I think Zuko forced him." But either way, I'm happy. And Mina said, "I'm happy that he asked me out first." And other girls are talking about all this little stuff. And on the boys' side of the chat, um, Kirishima is texting Deku on why did you make me say it out loud? Zook said, well, since you paid already, and I already knew you were going, it was already ready. I figured it would be a perfect time to embarrass yourself, show your human side, and me not be more satisfied to date you this way. So I was thinking, and he said another thing, and I was thinking of you guys will be the perfect couple. And he's just giving a really evil grin emoji at Kirishima. And the other guys are jealous, but not too much. And Zuko pretty much broke the silence and said, so, if any of you guys think this is the right time, then please say I. And 3 of them said I. And Zuko said, well, $5 and I'll tell you when it'll be the right time. Right now it's not. Alright? They say okay, sure. All the other guys are just there watching the whole show. In my previous part, most of the guys were pointing to the door. The rest of them were pointing to another classroom, out in the windows, up down in the ground. Manila was just the same thing, out in the door, well, out of the opposite room. No one else was pointing at. So that's what I forgot about. Yeah. Where was I? 12. So end of the week is passed. Everybody's getting back to school, and they were giving a notice that they're giving another 2 weeks. 2 weeks? No, first month. And then 2 weeks. Because I believe the sports festival was supposed to be like a month ago, later. So 2 weeks will be good. So they had 2 weeks more of actually training for the sports festival. And they agree and start training. Zuko is training with Suyu, and Mina is training with Kirishima, and everybody else is training on their own or with others. As much free time as they do have. I'll skip because I don't really have any plans for them right now. I need a picture of those where I can see what they will look. So here comes the sports festival. Everybody's in the line in the changing rooms. Everybody now are in the next room. Everybody's just waiting, and Todoroki pretty much walked up to Bakugo and Deku and declaring war. Bakugo is all fired up and getting ready to say something back, but Zuko pretty much grabbed on Bakugo's shoulder, pulled him back, and said, Todoroki, I'm finding everybody here in my full power. If you want to challenge me with your full power, not just one side. And they heard a few moments of silence, and they hear all class 1, the first years come to the stadium, and everybody goes on. And Todoroki is thinking one side. I'm not gonna use his side. I refuse. I'm not gonna be his little toy in his head. So midnight, yes. Midnight is talking about a few things and asks Zuko Midoriya to come. Yes, I remember. Come up stage. So Zuko come up there and took a few breaths and looked around, grabbed the mic and said, "Well, hello everybody. I am Zuko Midoriya, the next number one hero." And some of them were just kind of smiling, kind of grinning. But Zuko said, "But on a seriousness, that is my goal. And I will not hold back my power in this, in today, tomorrow, or rest of my life. I will not hold back to anyone that goes against me." So I talk to all of you that are going against me for today. Fight me in your all, and I'll do the same. And he walks off. So some people are confused at this point. I don't know what exactly to say, but the students that's fighting against him are pretty pissed off that he just declared war on everybody now, not just 1A. But a little bit of them are kind of happy that he actually thinks of them as an equal to fight against. And Midnight said, "All right, so," and she spins the wheel, I guess, and it's the race. So everybody's getting ready. Everybody's getting ready in the line and getting close to the door, getting really crushed into it. Zuko's just pretty much back in the back, looking at everybody and seeing how things are. Suyu actually goes goes back with Deku, and she asked, "Do you have a plan?" And he said, "Of course. By now you should know that I always have a plan." And she said, "Okay, I'll follow you then." And Zuko said, "Okay." And 3, 2, 1, go! President Mike pretty much said. And he's pretty much telling Aizawa, "What do you think of your students will go for? How far will they go?" And Aizawa said, "Last time they had fought villains. Now they're fighting against each other. I don't think they won't. They see the experience." I can't think of anything else. Sorry, I thought I was going to get something, but can't get it, bring it out. Not yet. So he says the same thing in canon. And everybody's pretty much going. Todoroki frees up most of the students, but most of Class 1A, some of Class 1B, and a little bit of Class 1C. And Zuko is actually, right when President Mike said go, he turned on his quirk, and Suyu pretty much got used to it and started swinging on the red threads, using her arms kind of like a monkey, even though she's a frog, and start swinging. And when she gets into a certain thread, she learns that a few of them are thin and perfect for one hand, two hand, or jumping. So she sees a few and said deku, and Deku knows which one she's talking about, and starts using. So he's working with her, and they're jumping in the air like, what was his name? The guy in the yellow suit. Dang it, I don't remember. It's not Tokuyami. It was a T. Dang it, I had to actually watch it again. But anyway, and they're kind of like that, and he is actually watching it, and pretty impressed with how that kid and that girl is doing the same moves as he is, and he's kind of like smirking at this point. Back on the race, Zuko and Suyu is jumping to thread, And then Zuko pretty much was getting way too into it, and pretty much smashed right into the 0 pointers. Well, he skipped through the 1, 2, and 3 pointers, pretty slow for him, but he didn't see the 0 pointer because he was looking back, making sure Suyu got through, and hit the 0 pointer foot. He stopped. He stopped the quirk, and Suyu pretty much was jumping and got stuck on. Used her hands and feet to stick onto the 0 pointer and start climbing over. And pretty much said, "Well, see ya, Deku, and thank you for the help." And then Deku is kind of like a little dazed and looking around, seeing people are getting closer and closer. And he looks up and he sees the 0 pointer about to crush him. Because at this point, Todoroki froze the robot and actually is making it falling down. And it fell, crushing the two. Tetsu. And I like saying that down. It took me forever to remember. And Kirishima breaking out. And they are saying that there's still another kid under there. And Zuko is like pretty much still under it, but not really. He used his red threads jail and pretty much sees the past and pretty much moves the thread just enough where it can cut through a hole. Since he knows he can move it, he's doing the same thing, but he's cutting an actual hole. But he has to grab onto the string and do it himself. So that's be the only time he actually does this. And it seems like he was walking right through the 0 pointer. And everybody's surprised and Zuko start running. This time he's using 5%. I know I went higher, but he's using 5%, not to wear him out. And he went to the next obstacle. Next one, the canyon. Zuko sees this, and instead of using his quirk, he wanted to show off a bit. So he see how tight the thread is, the rope is, and see it's pretty wobbly, but it's good enough. So Zuko start running on the tight rope like it's nothing. Then going to one pillar to the next, just running on it. He's not flinching. He's not, because he's done it before on his own threads, and it's no difference. They're just a little. He just can't control how strong they are. And Suyu is used to it, but she still does the same thing in a cannon, pretty much using all fours to get to the other side. So Zuko's actually in first place now. At this point, everybody's pretty surprised. The stadium are pretty surprised. Some heroes are pretty impressed that he can keep balance on the tightrope like that, like it was nothing. And President Mike is asking Izawa, what exactly is his quirk, and how can he be so balanced on a tightrope like that? And Aizawa said, well, President Mike, his quirk is something of a mystery. And President Mike said, like, what do you mean? What is his quirk is called? And Aizawa said, his quirk is called the Red Thread of Fate. Everybody's kind of shocked and start looking at Aizawa. And President Mike said, you mean that folklore where the strings is connected to our soulmates? Aizawa said, yes, exactly the one. I didn't believe it at first, but when he showed it to me, it was true. When Zuko turned on his quirk, his eyes turned a little red, and he sees the red threads, and they're everywhere. We have seen the red threads, and they are everywhere. If you don't believe me, just watch the kid how he runs. And they start seeing him, and Zuko is now running going to the landfill. He looked at them, looked at the landfill, and said, "This is too easy," and start just running on his threads. It looked like he was going to touch them, but he started going up on his going up, and then just moving side to side on his threads, just bouncing, walking on, running on them, using 5% of speed. At this point, Bakugo and Todoroki are just about in on the last one, like at the very front of the landmine, and Zuko's in the middle, and he's still going. And but they are see so they see Zuko just running in air, and Bakugo got a little pissed and start and saying, "You damn nerd, I'm gonna beat you," and start flying over. And Shoto, sorry, start freezing the ground, thinking that he's gonna help others, but right now he wants to win, so he's doing it, and so he's freezing the ground from the very beginning. And Deku's still running and still running, and he sees someone actually passed him. And Bakugo is just laughing like a crazy person, looking at Deku, saying, "I'm gonna win." You can't. and Shoto is about to pass Zuko, but Zuko pretty much is leaning back further and using his he's using his threads to lean back. At this point, he's about 2 stories high, so he's letting the thread go all the way down to the landmine. So right when he touched the landmine, he slingshot himself way faster. He went up to 50% of speed. He doesn't have 50% of the one for all, but he went up to 50% of speed, and pretty much flew past Shoto, and he got a little off balance and hit, and he pretty much got off balance, fell off of his ice, and hit one of his landmines and started blowing up. And when he passed by Bakugo, he said, "Gotcha," and pretty much grabbed. He grabs Bakugo and pushed him down. So Bakugo was flying straight, but he's flying down now, and he hit one of the explosion, saying, "You damn nerd, that was cheating." And Zuko said, "All fair in love and war," and still flying over. And he passed the finish line at first. Now there, Shoto and Bakugo are getting up, getting ready, and start running again. This time using their quirks again, and they're neck and neck. And same thing in the canon. I don't remember who's first, second. But Bakugo in second, and Shoto in third, and everybody else comes up. Oh. Sorry, I thought I got a bug. No, I want to finish it. Okay, here we go. So the next one is the cavalry battle. Everybody's just choosing. Some people are avoiding Bakugo, Shoto, and Deku because they're the strongest. But some of them are choosing Bakugo and Todoroki. Finally, got the name. But Deku is still just looking around. And so Tsuyu chose to go with Deku. So Tsuyu will be replacing that forgot her name, but the girl that has the inventions. So she'll be replacing her. Raka will come by and ask Zuko, since we're friends and they're friends, to be on the same group. And so Zuko look around, see if anybody else wants to be in there, and he finds a vine girl. This time, this girl, not really close with her friends, but she's is still timid. And Zuko walked up to her and asked her if she wants to be in his group. And she said, "Is it really okay?" Because at this point, I believe she's shy, but powerful. I don't remember her name, but she's a girl with vines for hair. I'll probably search her, but I won't. So Zuko is now in the front. Suyu is on the back left. Uraraka is in the back right. And the Vine Girl is on the top. And Zuko pretty much tells them to hold on tight. Well, Zuko pretty much tell Uraraka to make everybody float. And she said okay. They're doing the plan ahead of time. He's telling them that since we have the highest points, all we need to do is get away from there. Do you know anybody here that can fly? They say no. And Zuko said, good. Now I'm going to be using my quirk. And Uraraka, please make us float. And right when it said go, Uraraka made everybody float and start flying up. And everybody's kind of freaking out that they're going to fly away. And Predator Mike was going to stop them for going any higher, but Aizawa would pretty much stop him and just tell him to look. And then they just stop. Uraraka got a little tired because, no, she's not that tired. She just got a little dizzy. But still looking around. Yeah, I don't think she was. Oh, she's in the group. So she got a little dizzy, but she got used to it because of all the training. I forgot about that. Sorry. And they're just pretty much standing there. And they are at the very top. When I say the threads goes high, I mean they go high. Right now, they're at the same level at the top of the sports festival where the cameras can actually look at them directly. And Zuko said, well, it'll be a while for either of them to get back here, but you guys just want to, like, talk? And he's smiling at this point, and Suyu said, well, keep an eye out just in case if anyone of them figure out how to get up here. Zuko said, okay. But he's still talking to everybody, getting to know everybody this time. Getting to know the new girl. Now I can't replace anybody. So it's the same thing in canon. Everybody's fighting for each other. Bakugo's fighting about that copy bitch, and Todoroki's just trying to figure out to get up there. And so Todoroki found a way, figure out, to make the biggest. He wasn't planning to use it at first, but he wants to get those points. And everybody in his group said, yeah, let's do it. And so Todoroki said, all right, fine. And so he used his quirk, and he make it look like it went all the way top. But Zuko sees this and said, oh, I wonder what they're doing. And all the girls are asking Zuko, should we move? Zuko said, yeah, we were going to move, but not yet. I want to see them if they can get it. It'd be a bait. A trap of sorts. And they said, okay, but how? And Zuko will tell them, I'm not going to say what. And Todoroki is pretty much running, everybody's running up. I believe it's Momo's in his group. I believe it's so. If not, then dang, I'm wrong. But oh well. So they're finding a way to climb up. And At this point, Ida tells them that he has a special skill, was planning to hold back, but at this point he needs to win. So everybody hold on and reciprocal burst. That's a hard word for me to say. And he's flying off, kind of like a rocket on a on a hill, going up and all the way, so close, and they almost reach Deku and his team. Right when Shoto sees him, he actually start using his fire because he was so focused on winning, he didn't think about on how to get it. He just thought to use a quirk. He used his quirk, and so he started using fire. And Zuko said, "Oh!" But at this point, he's 9 yard, 3 yards away or 9 feet away. So right now they're really close, but actually far enough where Zuko said, "Okay, thread jail," and Todoroki said, "What?" And but and no, it was in their other team. But Ida knows, and Ida said, "No," and they kind of look at um, Ida and said, "What do you mean?" And they try to run and try to grab Izuku's headband, and they can't. And Zuko's teammates is looking, well, the only girl that's new, the girl with the vine hair, is looking around, seeing, what are these? And Zuko said, this is my quirk. You can see them because you're touching me. Either physical or about 200 feet of range. And she said, okay. And what are these? And she's like plucking on one of them. And Zuko said, can you not? That felt weird. Dang. And she said, okay. But what are they? And Zuko said, they're the red thread of fate. And she's kind of confused, and she was going to say something, but the game is over. So everybody pretty much have their own points. Bakugo has the most, third most. Todoroki is still up in second, and Zuko's up in the first, and they're still up there at the very top. And Zuko said, "Well, I can like drop you guys, but I mean, are any of you guys scared of heights?" And the girl in the vines pretty much said, rolled her head, said, "I am." And Zuko said, "Really? But we just went up this high." And she said, "Yeah, but I mean, there was a lot of nerves. I just wanted to win." And Zuko said, "Okay, you guys," and he looks at Todoroki's team, pretty much asking them, was about to say, "Well, nah, I guess you guys can get down, right?" And they are all saying, "No, take us with you." And Zuko said, "Okay." And so he pretty much asked Uraraka to have everybody light, float, zero gravity. Everybody's holding on to Deku, and he's just pulling himself down, kind of like a upside down staircase. Instead of going up with his head up, he's going down, and it looked like he's pulling against gravity. It was a weird scene to look and see this. And Zuko said, "Okay, well, see ya, guys." And they just like went off to the lunchroom. At this point, they're actually going to take a break and have lunch. But this time, instead of being so separate, the girl with a vine for hair kind of like walked up to and asked Zuko if she could eat lunch with them. Zuko is all fine with it. Suyu is getting a little jealous at this point, meeting this new girl and saying all buddy with Deku. but Suyu knows that he's not that kind of person. So she kind of like is sitting right next to Deku, and the girl's next sitting right in front of Deku. And Zuko said, "Okay, so you have questions?" And she said, "Yeah. Your quirk was the red thread of fate," and he said yes. And she asked, "So you can see like people's destinies and futures?" Zuko said, "Well, yeah, but I don't want to tell people exactly what their future is because it will change." And she said, "Oh, okay, but..." And Zuko said, "What? You need, like, what do you need to know?" And she's asking, "So, and my thread, does it, and she's kind of like rubbing her hands together saying, does it connect to like a soulmate for me?" And Zuko said, "Well, I can check, but..." And he's like rubbing his fingers. And she's kind of confused and saying, "What are you doing?" And Zuko said, "Oh, you don't know. When I rub my fingers, it's technically a sign language, pretty much meaning you have to pay for you to know. Because for Zuko, he wants to make some money with his quirk and enjoying the panic, the little frustrations in people's eyes." So the girl said, "How much would it be to know?" And Zuko said, "It's pretty minor. I say $5. And he reminds me, "Oh, you guys." And the three guys pop up and said, "Yeah, hey, where's my money?" And they're both like, they're just like turn around and still eating. And Zuko said, "Okay, okay. Who knows? Maybe one of you are going to miss out." And one of them said, "Okay, I'll pay up." And it's the guy with the tail guy. He pays up and asks Zuko, "So when is the right time to ask?" And Zuko said, "Well, hmm, she's not in the final. You're not in the final. After my fight." And he kind of like turned on his quirk, grab on his thread and sees it. Zuko sees that he chose the right girl. Zuko pretty much told him, "This be a bonus. You chose the right one. The perfect time to ask her out will be after my fight. All right?" And he's kind of pretty much happy to hear this, and he's doing this all in front of Suyu and the girl in front, and all the other guys don't really hear it. The girls don't hear it at all because they're talking real loud. And so he left and said pretty much thank you. And Zuko pretty much turned back to her, and she's kind of like surprised to see that he's very. She doesn't know what to say at this point, and Zuko pretty much tell her, "Well, $5 because it's not really in big importance. Right now, it's not a good time. That'd be the free tip. Right now, it's not a good time. He still need to work some stuff. After that, I'll give you a call." And Suyu is kind of like pinching him and said, "Ow, hey, what?" She's kind of pinching at him, saying, "Are you getting her number just to? Are you using her?" Zuko said, "No, I'm. It'd be okay if she give it to you, and I'll ask you when to call her." And Suyu said, "Yes, that's way better." And Deku said, "Okay, fine. Okay, so are you okay with this?" And she said, "Okay." Zuko asked, "So where's the $5?" Just to break the test. tension, and she's kind of like getting tell him after your fight, I think you're the first match, right? And Zuko said, yeah. So and she said, after that first fight, I think I can go get my money and send it to you. Zuko said, okay. After the fight, I guess I'll be here. So you want to be here when I'm win or lose? Don't know yet. And he's just kind of smirking. And she said, okay, I'll wait for you here when you're done with. I'll watch your fight and I'll come over here, okay? Zuko said, okay, that's fine. And at that point, lunch is over. Everybody's pretty much taking their seats. Zuko is called up to do his first match. And Zuko is looking around, looking at him, and Ashiro, I believe that's the same name, but if I'm wrong, thing. Sorry. But the tail guy pretty much get up to him and said, oh, I almost forgot. Something about his quirk is like made me forget about everything. So it all happened when I answered a question of his. And Zuko said, oh, that's pretty helpful. And he just gives back the $5 and say, just for that, I'll give back the $5. And Zuko said, also, one more thing. Before you ask her out, say that her quirk is very unique. I believe that will actually seal the deal. And the tail guy kind of smiles and pretty much gave him a bro handshake and said, dude, that's a thank you. And he walks off into a sunset. But really, it's just off. And he's like saying, and he's up in the seats. Oh, dang. Sorry. He's up in the seats looking, taking a, getting close to one of the girls. And just talking with her. He can't tell, but she's blushing. But everybody else can tell by her voice. And so you see, oh, her. Well, she thinks this. Oh, her. And Deku is getting up, and he does start his fight. Shin's show is pretty much making fun of him. The fight was already started, and Zuko is just standing there waiting for something to happen. And Shin's show is pretty much standing there. Sorry, start over. And telling him that he's it must be great to have such a great power, and being and using it as a chicken of running away with all your problems. Must be nice with all those girls around you. And Zuko's just getting a little pissed and start jumping. And he's just like, he doesn't really use one for all because he's just as strong right now, only when he needs to. So he kind of like started jumping side to side, kind of like a boxer stance, and kind of taunting him to come here, because he knows a few fighting styles. He needs to learn how to jump off to string to string without falling. I said a few other tricks, but boxing is one of his fighting styles. And so Zuko is just getting closer and closer, giving a few quick jabs. The only reason I know all these terms is because I watched another anime about it. But anyway, let's get back to it. And Zuko pretty much gave him about 3 punches, and then one mean right hook using 5%, and getting Shin's show. It's the mind breaking quirk guy, and he went out of bounds. And Zuko said, first of all, My quirk is useless. I just figured out a way of making it useful. And I start training with my quirk. If you have trained just a bit more with your quirk, not listening to other people's and their opinions doesn't matter. Just your mindset state. What you think of your quirk, what you want for your life. They don't know what you're gonna do. They don't know what I can do. And he just walks off. And Zuko pretty much Essential is actually getting walking away, and he gets that same talk from his friends. But they don't really. And after they have the announcements on what quirk exactly Essential had and what Deku had. At this point, guess not. Okay. Sorry, I just got a message. I'm not working tomorrow. Great for this little sickness. Okay, where was I? So Zuko pretty much walking off, and he sees Suyu pretty much waiting at the door, and she's pretty happy. And Zuko said, What did he expect? I can do anything." He's kind of like giving us fake grin, kind of like smiling, but reaching out his hand, and Suyu just grabs him and pull him, and said, "Okay, let's meet up with the girl. Meet up with her." And Zuko said, "Fine, fine," all serious, like. Still, it's one of your cute sides when you're all serious. And at this point, she's blushing kind of a bit, being called cute out of nowhere. Pretty much will throw you off. I'm not sure if she, yeah. So they get about 5 minutes of break, and then the next one will come up. So in that 5 minutes, Zuko is waiting for the girl, and she's coming up. She gives him $5 and said, "Okay, so is my soulmate? Do I have a soulmate?" And Zuko said, "Yes, you do have a soulmate, and he is nearby, but he has some problems that he needs to work out, and I will help him fix it. But after that, I'll give you a call." And she said, "Okay. Should I know anything else?" Zuko said, "Well, I'll say he's kind of strict. If you're okay with that, I believe that will be enough." And she said, "Okay, I think I can deal with that." And then she walks off. And Tsuyu is asking after a while, because that only took 1 minute. So they have 4 minutes until the next match. And Tsuyu is asking, "So who's her soulmate?" And Zuko said, "He's in our class." And she said, "Oh, really? Will you tell me who it is?" And Zuko said, "I believe you know." And she said, "I think I do, but I'm not sure. Are you talking about extremely strict or somewhat strict?" Zuko said, "Well, I guess you don't know, huh?" And he's kind of like getting closer to her. And she kind of like, and she's still in her thoughts thinking who could it be. Because there's this one guy, but he's not that strict. But there's another one that's really strict. And Zuko said, "Well, it's a good time to me." And he just gave her a kiss on the lips. Suyu was, had her eyes wide open, really shocked. And then after a few seconds, pretty much calmed down and enjoying it. And Zuko back up and said, "Well, I guess that'll be good for our first kiss." And he walks off. And Zuko said, "Well, good luck on your match." And he went on to his seat. So, where am I? I don't remember the fights either. Bakugo and Uraraka does the same fight. Ida, instead of against the girl, is fighting against Suyu. Suyu is pretty good, but right when Ida gets close to her, he used his burst and pushing her out of the bounce. And that's how he wins. So he does the same thing in canon. He's just not getting making fun of by that girl. It was a little annoying, but it was pretty funny too. Dang, what the heck? Oh. Sorry, I thought I have like a... Oh. Okay, never mind. Where am I? So the fights are going well. Shoto is getting really pissed off that he's in third place, second place, and still being last. He wants to show off. He wants to show his father that he can do anything with only his eyes. He's getting more pissed that he used his fire in the heat of the moment. No pun intended. At the last battle. So he's a little more angry at this point. He didn't really have this talk with Deku because Deku doesn't use his other quirk as much, so he doesn't think and put it together. So a few matches goes by. The next match will be Zuko versus Shoto. And Shoto's already up there just waiting for Zuko. Zuko was about to enter, but Endeavor comes up and he's, "Hey, boy." And Deku turned around, said, "Yes, sir." And looked at him and said, "Oh, okay." And don't give me that tone. This is Endeavor. "You, boy, make sure and make my son use his fire quirk." And Zuko said, "Is that a threat?" And Zuko's getting ready for like a single punch. And Endeavor said, "No, it's an order." Zuko said, "Well, Mr. Endeavor, or second hero." And Endeavor at this point is getting a little pissed that a kid said that he's second hero in a tone that he does not like. And said, "Boy, I can end your career right here." And he's showing some flame. And Zuko said, "Oh, you really pissed me off. Should I?" And Endeavor said, "Quit playing around." And he's trying to throw a fire blast at Zuko. Zuko dodged to a wall and said, "Ooh, feisty." And Zuko said, "Thread gel." And Endeavor said, "Thread gel." And Zuko said, "Yeah. Well, see ya, Endeavor. I have gotten stronger on my quirk, and this is the max length. So you'll be stuck like that for a bit. Sorry, not sorry." And he walks off. So I made where Endeavor did this in the entrance, the little bit door, where no one can see him, but Zuko had like 5 more steps away, and he's on the grass going to the center. So no one can see this. Endeavor is stuck this whole time, and Zuko's making it like that. And Shoto's getting pretty angry. And Zuko said, "Hey, wait. Before we begin, look behind me." And Shoto looks behind him and sees that his father is stuck in a pose. And Zuko said, "Now we can start." Because Zuko just want to show Todoroki that his father is not that strong. Not a bit. So the fight starts, everything going kind of like in canon. Zuko this time is using one for all, 10%, almost 11, kind of breaking his bones. Well, breaking his limbs. No? Breaking his tendons. So he's doing this, and not just, he's doing flicks of each one. And Zuko is dodging with on his threads from his fire, his ice for only. And Zuko is kind of dodging at this whole time, but he's not passing at a certain point, in the middle. And Zuko kind of like doing that on purpose. And Shoto is getting pushed back every time, getting more frustrated, and then he's getting really cold. Frostbite is starting to show up on his arm. And Zuko pretty much said, "So, Todoroki, are you going to use your fire quirk, or are you going to just be a bee for the rest of the fight?" And Shoto is getting really frustrated and saying, "I'm not going to use his quirk." And Zuko said, "His quirk? Dude, he controls his own quirk. If he can control your quirk, he'll be making you use it all the time." But, and Todoroki said, "But what?" Zuko said, "But it's your quirk. You can control that ice, you can control that other fire. He can only control fire. He cannot control you. He had a choice of making your life a hell or better." And Todoroki said, "How can you tell?" And Zuko said, "I can see it. My threads, I can see your future. I can see your past as well." And Zuko said, "Also, one more thing. I'm just as pissed off as you are. So, Todoroki, fight me with your all. Both your fire and ice, and both of my enhancement and threads." And their king and Todoroki flame up halfway, ice up, and pretty much telling Zuko, "You just made a big mistake." And Zuko is pretty smiling at this point, turning back to see his father, Todoroki's father, and he's still stuck there, pissed off, but kind of smiling that his son is using his quirk. And Zuko said, "Finally." And he's charging up one for all, 20%. No, 15%. He knows he's going to break his arm for this, but he's in the fight and he wants to win too. And since the air was so cold at that point, using all that ice, Todoroki started using his fire, and it burned up so fast, it made an explosion, just like in canon. Both of the extreme heat and from the cold to the heat made another what ifer named this, but I don't remember. Well, I do. I just can't say it. At complete zero. And Zuko did a one for all smash, 15%. And there's silence. Dust, debris everywhere. Everybody can't see anything. A few seconds pass by, still nothing. A full minute pass by, and they see if anybody's still in the ring, and they see nobody on the ring. But they see someone crush back on the wall, and it's Todoroki. And they're asking, "Where's Deku?" And Deku is holding on a thread, holding in one thread with his other arm that's not broken fully. His hands are broken, but his fingers are broken, but it's not his arm on the thread. and he's just floating there, not above the whole thing, and he's just hanging there. And so Zuko pretty much let go, and he touched the stadium, kind of like crushing his. He still feels the pain on his right arm, and put up his fist, and pretty much scream plus ultra, and it was, yep. Afterwards, Todoroki was taken to Recovery Girl. Zuko was taken to Recovery Girl, and after a certain distance, Endeavor pretty much got out of the jail and kind of like stumbles because he was not couldn't feel his legs at that point. And Zuko was using his quirk the whole time just to set a point for Endeavor that he is not the strongest anymore. In the Recovery Girl's office, Suyu actually went off and check on Deku and Todoroki, I guess, and see how they're doing. And Zuko kind of like sleeping, passed out. His arms are okay, and he did do. He only did that because he more power in one arm than his whole body. He doesn't want to show people he can do that. Well, he does show people. He just doesn't like doing it as much because he's still getting a little mixed up with some parts. Todoroki is still passed out, and President Mike said, for safety reasons, we will wait for about 10 to 15 minutes until the next match. Please enjoy these ads. And they do some ads, kind of like in Super Bowl. And Bakugo is just in the waiting room, just waiting and waiting and waiting so long just to hear his name. Deku pretty much woke up in about 5 minutes, look around and see what is going on, and Zuko pretty much asked who won. And Suyu said, "You did. Oh, don't you remember?" And Zuko said, "Nope. I was too focused in the fight. That was awesome." And he looks at Todoroki and he sees how bad he is. And Zuko looks at himself and sees that his arm is somewhat fixed, but he got those scars like in canon, and said, I figured I was going to get these sooner or later. Guess it was this time. And Recovery Girl said, What do you mean? And Zuko said, "Oh, my quirk. I sometimes do it to myself. It feels weird, but when I do it to myself, I can see what's going to happen next." And she said, "So how far in the future can you see?" And Zuko said, "That's for me to know and you to figure out." But Zuko pretty much said, "Well, it's time differs every time I do it, like every check. So I will see this. I've seen this before, but I never knew when it was going to happen. In other people, I see when, how, because I'm not changing anything. I'm not going to tell them anything, or it will change." And so a Recovery Girl said, okay. So in that, and Zuko said, "Yes, I know next time you're not going to heal me unless I figure out my quirk." And Recovery Girl said, "Okay, I guess my work is here is done." And he just walk off. So 10 minutes passed by. I want to finish this today. Zuko's ready. Bakugo's ready. And they're both staying in the stadium. waiting for the 3, 2, 1 go. And Zuko pretty much tells Bakugo, better not hold back. I'm ready for a good fight. And Bakugo is saying, I will never hold back on you. Just don't pass out when I beat you. Zuko said, cocky, I see. I think I'm better at it. And Bakugo's getting a little pissed. And Deku getting in the fighting stance. It'll be the monkey style. Pretty much how he's like holding a pole, but he's only one of his strings, and he's just getting ready for. And 3, 2, 1, fight. And Bakugo start using his explosion, start flying straight towards Zuko. Zuko actually start bouncing off his strings to dodge it at first. And when he got a free opening where Bakugo was trying to turn around, Deku pretty much slingshot himself towards Bakugo and pretty much punching him right in the face. Bakugo fell back a few feet away. Zuko is just standing there, bouncing side to side, getting ready for the next one, and he's getting ready, he's charging up. Instead of using his arm, he's actually using his whole body. So he's slowly getting used to it. Going to his legs, going to his arms, to his torso, his thigh, and finally his head. So he's covered in electricity, and he starts jumping side to side around Bakugo. Bakugo's getting pissed and start doing explosion every spot he sees. At this point, Zuko is doing a circle around him, going faster and faster. He's right now at 1%, but he's going 2%, 3% as he's going circles and circles around him. And when he get to 5%, he start jumping on his strings, and he start making it more confusing, zigzag, and impossible to follow. And Bakugo at this point is using his explosions as much as he can, in small bursts, at points where he sees Deku and falsely predicting where he might be at next. And so he's doing that every time. At this point, it kind of looks like a tornado. A green tornado is surrounding this kid, Bakugo, of an explosion. And everybody is just silent. Just in the first 3 minutes of the fight, and everybody see how far it has gone. No one has no idea who to cheer for or even or what to say. The stadium is kind of yelling and just in shock right now of seeing how good these kids are fighting and how serious they are. President Mike doesn't know what to say, and Aizawa's just looking at them and saying, "Problem child. Sorry, I need to move it." And Aizawa pretty much tell them, if you have a phone right now, please record this. This might be the best fight ever. And everybody's starting to record because they don't know what's going to happen next. And President Mike is just getting the cameras to focus and using slow motion cameras to show what exactly Zuko's doing. Back on the fight, Bakugo is getting tired of this, and he's feeling the pain of. Right now, it's been 5 minutes of this, and Bakugo is getting tired of looking around. So he's just gathering up enough sweat. Oh. And then a Hauser impact, twice as big from a cannon. Because he knew he can't get him at one pot, he's going to get the whole stadium. The whole fighting area. And Deku sees this and try to get away and try to slingshot himself to the highest point. And Baku said, "You're gonna get down one way or another." So Bakugo did a Hauser impact as big as he can, and just a bit of his strength left over. It goes all pretty much covering the whole stadium of black smoke, and Zuko is like going down and down to see if Bakugo at this point is a little quiet. No one knows what's going on. Only the camera see it. And they're all gasping that they see Bakugo still standing, pretty much holding on to his arm, one of his arms, looking at Deku. And Deku said, "So, are you ready to give up?" And Baku said, "Of course not." And he started popping on his hands. And then he said, "I'm not sure what it's called, but I'm calling it a rocket. A spinning tornado. I don't know." And he getting ready for the Bass 1. And he starts spinning himself, making it faster. And he's flying straight towards Zuko. And Zuko was about to dodge, but he figured this would be the best chance to do it. And so he's took his stance, said, and get ready for one heck of a punch, and pretty much said, "One for all, 15% smash." And he hit the Bakugo straight in the face. Using all that in momentum, Deku did not expect it